So what happened, man? Ugh, 60 FPS again, I forgot. Jesus. Hey, welcome. Never used a machete before, as you can tell. Oh, shh. In a minute, I'm gonna stop and look where we're at on GPS. Something out there. Heard something. I'm gonna pull up my GPS. See where we're at. Oh shit. You're not gonna believe this. We're actually going back towards the trail. We're not going up. We're going sideways. Here's something creepy for you guys. We thought we were going straight up north, like north. We thought we were going up this. Something up here. Just heard something. Something's up here. Somebody's an animal or somebody's up here. Hey, what's up? It's iCkEdMeL. Welcome. It's Sunday, and I got a kind of a new setup behind me. I feel tonight feels weird because the lighting feels weird. Because like I have a new desk and everything just feels weird. I'm not sure what's going on. But I'm here though. And what I thought we could do is go over some of the recent clips with regards to Ronnie and the sentencing phase. I've been having people ask me about that. So we're going to do that briefly tonight. Not stay too long. Sunday night. But yeah, thank you for coming by. The thing I don't like about this new setup, this desk, is like it just shakes a lot more than the other one. It's like I just touched it and it's like boom, 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 boom. It's kind of annoying. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, welcome. Thanks. A couple of things that I want to show. And by the way, Kenyatta's, I think it was her mother or her family spoke out after the sentencing with Ronnie. So, but yeah, you guys can see a little wider view. Yeah. Sunday. I might come back. I don't know. We're gonna do this brief one just to touch on this and move on. I don't know if I'm gonna come back tonight or not. We can, because I was thinking about covering the whole situation in Miami. I actually thought about going there in person. I don't know. We'll see. It's just horrendous. Or I thought we could maybe do a fun stream. I don't know. I hate that. Every time I put my hand, I was like, boom, boom. Isn't that annoying? Oh my God, yo, what the hell? So, yeah, a couple of clips. Let me start with this. Opening statements in the sentencing phase. Ronnie O'Neal.
Right now, the Ronnie O'Neal murder trial is in the sentencing phase. Today, the defense called a psychologist to the stand to talk about prior trauma and mental illness they say was passed down from his father. ABC Action News reporter Heather Lee has the update from the courtroom.
Ronnie O'Neal's defense team is trying to prove to the jury that he suffers from delusions. Dr. Scott Mackless, a clinical and forensic psychologist, says O'Neal's biological father, Alonzo Fritz McNair, has been diagnosed with schizophrenia and persecutory delusions. He says people who suffer from that are paranoid and believe people or things are after them to hurt them in some way. In one of McNair's reports from a hospital, he told medical officials, quote, "The devils are still getting in my way. They burn my feet." Dr. Mackless is saying to the jury that these types of disorders can be passed down to children.
If you are the son or daughter of an individual with a severe mental disorder like schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, delusional disorder, you are more likely to get this disorder later in life.
He says mental illness can come out when you experience other trauma in your life. The defense has told the jury O'Neal has been sexually abused when he was younger and nearly died after being the victim of a random drive-by shooting. The defense also called up O'Neal's brother and mother to testify. Heather Lee, ABC Action News.
Okay. So, they're saying he's had a traumatic life, sexual abuse, he's been shot at.
Just days after jurors convicted Ronnie O'Neal of double murder, they're now hearing arguments over what his fate should be. Prosecutors are pushing for the death penalty, saying his crimes justify it. O'Neal is no longer defending himself, and his attorney is asking for life in prison, using his childhood experiences as the reason why. 10 Tampa Bay's Bo Zimmer's been covering this case from the beginning, joining us now. Bo, it was another really emotional day in the courtroom.
Absolutely, and this was the part of the trial where we get to hear from both the family members of the victims and the defendant. And on the one hand, you have the loved ones who are dealing with the loss of their two family members. On the other, the man now convicted of these horrific crimes and the people who knew him best sharing new details with the jury they've never heard.
The punishment for this crime is either life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or death.
The ultimate decision for 12 jurors who already endured more than a week of graphic and often hard to listen to testimony in the Ronnie O'Neal double murder trial.
The evidence in this penalty phase will show you beyond any doubt that Kenyatta Barron suffered those very strong emotions of fear and horror.
Prosecutors pushing for that death penalty had medical experts testify what the victims went through on the night of their deaths.
I could only characterize it as marked or severe
severe pain?
Yes.
But then it was the defense team's turn. Public defenders taking center stage after O'Neal spent more than a week defending himself. Wednesday, they presented the jury.
Genetic disposition to having this delusional disorder, because what you will hear is that Mr. O'Neal's biological father also suffers from a delusional disorder.
The defense reminded the jury their decision would likely be among the most important of their lives.
You are never required or compelled to return a verdict of death. Never.
One of the key things in this penalty phase is that O'Neal now has an attorney after representing himself throughout the entire murder trial. And Bo, how's that going to impact O'Neal's chances of then getting the conviction overturned?
Well, attorneys say that will come down to his competency. He's had a public defender on standby during this entire trial, but now an attorney is trying to make the case that O'Neal should get life in prison. To get a deeper dive, we asked criminal defense attorney and former Pinellas County prosecutor Roham Kansari if that change would have any bearing on a possible appeal.
I think it'll have bearing as it relates to this death penalty portion of it, the penalty.
That's a weird ass music to have in the background, like the background music. By the way, I just noticed it told me the connection dropped and it reconnected, which is interesting because this is the Comcast business. It's supposed to be amazing. Maybe it's not amazing. What happened? What's going on?
Phrase, whereas it'll show that he's had competent counsel to make the arguments as to the mitigating factors. I don't think him choosing to have an attorney represent him on the penalty phase itself is going to have a bearing on whether he was competent and should have been representing himself on the primary case alone.
And Kansari says if O'Neal was granted an appeal, any witness would have to testify again and would be subject to a new cross-examination. And that would include his son, who was one of the key witnesses in this trial. Hillsborough is part of the 2nd District Court of Appeals. Year to date, there have been 755 appeals filed for criminal cases. The year starts over on July 1st. And part of O'Neal's case about his competency will be how he has had previous delusions. A psychologist is slated to testify first thing tomorrow morning.
But he's a victim now. I see. Even though he represented himself this entire time. Now he's a victim.
We are now in day 2 of the penalty phase in the Ronnie O'Neal double murder trial. Earlier this week, the Riverview man was convicted of murdering his girlfriend and daughter with special needs before trying to light his 8-year-old son in the family house on fire. 10 Tampa Bay's Bo Zimmer has been covering this case since it happened back in 2018. Bo, the prosecution gets their way. O'Neal could face the death penalty.
And that's what they're suggesting the jury should recommend to the judge. But I tell you what, these public defenders have come out fighting for Ronnie O'Neal, as they're paid to do, bringing out witness after witness, including a longtime forensic psychologist, Dr. Scott Macklis, who explained to the jury today Ronnie O'Neal suffered trauma as a 5-year-old little boy when he was allegedly sexually abused by 3 men, and then suffered more trauma as an adult when he was critically injured and barely survived a drive-by shooting here in Tampa. The doctors say that trauma that started when he was so young, just going into kindergarten, impacted his entire life.
He certainly felt confused. There was no justice. There was nobody to turn to. He didn't know where to go with these feelings that he was experiencing. He had anger at the perpetrators, anger that justice wasn't served.
The post-traumatic stress that followed, coupled with a predisposition for mental illness and a delusional disorder he inherited from his family, the doctor said, was enough to have Dr. Macklis testify that the death penalty would not be appropriate in this case. Now, of course, the prosecution sees things much differently.
Damn. And this is supposedly too. The victim's mother gives her tearful testimony. Jury to decide on death penalty on Ronnie O'Neal. I didn't know that too until this case, that like everybody, it has to be a unanimous decision for the death penalty. If just one person's like, nah, I don't feel like whatever, then that's it. That's all it takes to just be life in prison. I'm going to play this portion too. Thank you guys for joining. I don't know what happened. The entire thing got reset, but we're here. And I'm streaming in 60 FPS. I didn't mean to do that. It's supposed to be 30. but yeah, we're gonna write it out and finish it off. We'll see what happens. But he's smiling, man. He's smiling in court. Yeah, I'm mentally ill. Yeah, I'm mentally ill. For the life or death, or life in prison. I'm mentally ill. Yeah, sure. Thanks, liberals.
If you answer yes to at least one of the aggravating factors listed in Section A or Section B, please proceed to Section C. C, sufficiency of the aggravating factors. 1, reviewing the aggravating factors that we unanimously found to be established beyond a reasonable doubt in Section A, as they apply to Kenyatta Barron. We, the jury, unanimously find the aggravating factors are sufficient to warrant a possible sentence of death. Yes. 2, reviewing the aggravating factors that we unanimously found to be established beyond a reasonable doubt in Section B, as they apply to Ron'niveya Oneal. We, the jury, unanimously find the aggravating factors are sufficient to warrant a possible sentence of death. Yes. D, mitigating circumstances. 1 or more individual jurors find that 1 or more mitigating circumstances was established by the greater weight of the evidence. Yes. Eligibility for the death penalty for count 1, Kenyatta Barron. We, the jury, unanimously find that the aggravating factors that were proven beyond a reasonable doubt in Section A outweigh the mitigating circumstances established, Section D above, as to count 1. No. F, eligibility for the death penalty for count 2, Ron'niveya Oneal. We, the jury, unanimously find that the aggravating factors that were proven beyond a reasonable doubt in Section B outweigh the mitigating circumstances established, Section D above, as to count 2. No. If your vote to impose death is less than unanimous, the trial court shall impose a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. Dated this 25th day of June, 2021, signed by the foreperson. All right, I'm now going to poll the jury. And again, I'm going to do it by initials and juror number, okay? Members of the jury, we are going to ask each of you individually about the verdict that you have just heard. The question pertains to whether the verdict, as read by myself, was correctly stated. Beginning with juror number 1, initials LR. Do you, juror number 1, initials LR, agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole? Yes. Juror number 4, initials MD. Do you agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 7, initials RC. Do you agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror 9, initials HW. Do you agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror 12, initials ME. Do you agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole?
Yes.
Juror number 13, initials JP. Do you agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole?
Yes, ma'am.
Juror 16, initials NS. I'm going to take that phone if it goes off again.
Oh, savage judge.
Do you agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror 18, initials ES. Do you agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole?
Yes.
Juror number 20, initials AM. Do you agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole?
Yes, ma'am.
Juror 22, initials DV. Do you agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole?
Yes, ma'am.
Juror number 26, initials KW. Do you agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole?
Yes.
Juror 34, initials CLC. Do you agree that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole? All right, so I've got one set of final formal instructions to read to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. Or can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are...
Internet's acting up a little bit. What happened, Comcast business? What's going on? I thought you were supposed to be perfect for $200 a month. What's going on, Comcast business? Huh? Useless. All right, we'll keep going.
Simply curious, from the media, from the attorneys, or elsewhere. It will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror. Now, we've had this discussion about your identities, and I have ordered the media not in any way to disclose your identities, not your visual identity, not your names, and they will not do so. I've also put under seal your personal identifying information as far as names, addresses. Now, I don't want to mislead you that this will forever be locked down. If at some point in the future the media wants to get the information, they do have the right to come into court and ask for it pursuant to the First Amendment. So I just want you to know that, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I just want you all to be aware. On a more personal note, I really don't have the words to thank you all for your service. I really don't have the words. There are no tougher cases in our entire judicial system than the one you all agreed to serve on. Our entire community is indebted to you for your willingness to serve and for making these tough decisions in these terrible cases. And I just want to commend all of you. And we live in really such a polarizing time. And whenever I look and I see a jury such as yourselves, individuals from all different types of backgrounds, different genders, different socioeconomic levels, different races, it really, really reminds me of the faith that we should all have in the people of our community and the people of this country. Because you all come together from your various different backgrounds and experiences, and you work together to reach really, really difficult decisions on very difficult cases. So you all should go home tonight and feel extremely proud of yourself as citizens, because you've done an incredible service for all of us, and we are all so very grateful. So your jury service is now concluded. So this is, you'll never again hear me say that you can't talk to anyone about the case. As I told you, you're welcome to talk to anybody that you wish to. You also can tell people, you know what, maybe some other time, but not right now. All right? Very safe travels. I wish each of you the very best. Thank you.
All rise.
Yeah, that's it. Life in prison. All right, all right.
Okay, very good. Everyone have a seat. So, Mr. O'Neal, even though the sentence is not in dispute, I am going to set your your sentencing off. Your official sentencing date, because I anticipate there will be post-trial motions, and I will hear those at the same time. I do want to let the victim's family know that I am also going to set off the sentencing date because I know the rules constrain you all with regards to the victim impact statement and what you can really or were able to say to the jury. I do want to give you the opportunity to really open your hearts and say whatever it is that you need to say. So I will give you that opportunity. How much time do you all need as far as getting your post-trial motions ready to go?
Just stretching his neck, chilling. Look, this is bullshit. Wasting my time. Yeah, still cocky too. That's bullshit. You got time for the motherfucker?
What kind of time frame was Your Honor looking at?
Like 30 days or so.
Okay.
July 26th. Mr. O'Neal, please. Not now. Please don't start. July 26th.
Okay.
Does that work for you all in the afternoon? I understand, but I can hear you, and I'm trying to talk to your counsel right now.
Yes, we can do it in the afternoon.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so we're going to set off sentencing. Does that work for the victim's family? July 26th at 1:30?
Oh, say, out of here with that shit. I'm talking about this bullshit. I'm mentally ill. All the dumb people think I'm mentally ill. Out of here. Yeah, I got life. And what, bitch? All the stupid people, yeah. And what?
Yes, we can do it in the afternoon.
Out of here with that shit.
Okay, so we're going to set off sentencing. Does that work for the victim's family? July 26th at 1:30?
Fuck out of here. Think I feel sympathy? Yeah. Yeah. Look at him.
They apparently have a conflict on that date, Your Honor, on the 26th.
Okay.
Some of these people, I can't. Comments.
So July 23rd?
Is this happening right now, Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern? Right now, they're in court?
It's okay for the state, Your Honor.
July 23rd? All right. Then we're going to set sentencing for July the 23rd at 10 a.m. in the morning, and the sentencing will actually be in my regular courtroom, courtroom 10, over in the other courthouse. It won't be here.
Yes, Your Honor.
What was the time again, Judge?
10 a.m. All right. Anything further from the state or from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All rise. Court's adjourned.
Yeah, that's fine.
Smiling, too.
But isn't the order, I already did the order. It's gotta be that. Okay, all right, that's fine. For now.
Just smiling, just smiling. You dumb motherfuckers. Yeah, I'm mentally ill. You dumb fucks. All the people defending this guy, right? The stupid people. Thank you.
Because the order may not get done today. Yeah.
That's crazy, huh?
Okay.
Okay. At first I was going to wait till you finish the order and then I quit.
Whatever, yeah, you guys can figure it out.
Okay. Yeah. So he was spared by the jury. Life in prison without parole. I'm gonna play these two other clips, but then I have that the family reacting. Somebody keeps commenting Pebbles. Is this happening in all caps too? Is this taking place now? Is this happening now? No, it's not. It's Sunday night, 10 p.m. I don't think they're in court right now. This was recently, I think June 25th. Friday. They're not in court right now at 10 to 12 p.m. at night, or 10 a.m. at 12 a.m. at night. Sorry. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you for the super chat. The stars closer and closer to the goal. Are they in court right now? iCkEdMeL, tell me. Are they there right now, iCkEdMeL? Live right now?
I'm going to get you caught up on two big decisions on high-profile cases. Sentencing came down today in both the Derek Chauvin case and the Ronnie O'Neal case. So let's start in Hillsborough County tonight. A Riverview man was convicted of murdering his girlfriend and daughter with special needs before trying to light his 8-year-old son in the family house on fire in 2018. Just about a half an hour ago, the jury did not unanimously agree to a death sentence, therefore recommended a life sentence. 10 Tampa Bay's Bo Zimmer's been following this case from the beginning. Bo, the jury spent hours deliberating.
Yeah, and Allison, I had a chance to talk actually with one of the alternate jurors who was not part of this decision but was released early, and she said she felt, after sitting through this entire trial, she felt very strongly about recommending the death sentence in this case, and she felt there were others as part of this 12-person jury who felt the same way, but ultimately this had to be a unanimous decision. And the defense was able to present apparently enough evidence about O'Neal's past, his struggles with mental illness, and they also had that expert testimony that he was experiencing psychological disturbance and delusions on the night of the murders, that at least one of these jurors decided death was not the appropriate sentence. The prosecution was clearly pushing for that death penalty, and earlier today, both sides did their very best to convince the jury.
He exercised zero mercy for these individuals. None. Not an iota of pity. On that one aggravator alone, this defendant should be sentenced to death.
What Ronnie didn't know that night is that he was dealing with a delusional disorder, that he was dealing with PTSD, that he was dealing with a severe, invisible mental illness. He's a human being who's committed a horrible crime. But
now, the official sentencing is scheduled for July 23rd, but the mandatory sentence in this case does now become life without the possibility of parole in prison. And at that next hearing, we're told the family, the victim's family, will have the opportunity to speak directly to O'Neal if they choose. And of course, that should be some very emotional testimony from them after sitting through this very, very emotional 2-week trial. Guys?
Yeah, it's certainly been a long 2 weeks in the courtroom, but the case actually began in 2018. So let's run through how we got to this point. O'Neal's girlfriend, 33-year-old Kenyatta Barron, and the couple's 9-year-old daughter were murdered on March 18, 2018 at their Hillsborough County home. The couple's 8-year-old son was stabbed but survived the attack. Then weeks later, O'Neal pleaded not guilty to the murders and the attempted murder of his son. In October 2018, a judge found O'Neal was not competent to stand trial. It was nearly a year later when he was found competent and the case was able to move forward. After jury selection earlier this month, O'Neal represented himself in the trial. On Monday, he was found guilty and the case then moved to the sentencing phase.
Yeah, he was representing himself, but for the sentencing phase, the judge recommended that they use the counsel that they got for him, the public defender and stuff. And so he agreed to that for the sentencing phase. The last portion is, I just want to play the victim's family reaction to this. It's a short clip. But, and I guess that's it, unless an appeal goes through, I don't know.
He's not going to be leaving out of there.
Courtroom 1 on the 6th floor of the Hillsborough County Courthouse. After about 3 hours of deliberation, jurors in the Ronnie O'Neal case came back with a recommendation of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I am empty. I am empty without my grandson. I am empty without my granddaughter and my daughter.
One can only imagine the pain Carrie Lloyd feels every day. It was her daughter, Kenyatta Barron, and granddaughter who O'Neal brutally murdered in March of 2018. She still can't see her grandson. So, was this justice?
It's true, I go to a grave and I visit my 2 children at the grave, but at the end of the day, they resting in the bosom of God. But him, he's gonna be so miserable behind those bars till he gonna wish he was dead.
O'Neal smirked as deputies led him out of the courtroom. His attorneys were able to convince at least one juror that his life was worth sparing. Only if jurors are unanimous can they recommend a sentence of death to a judge.
We was wanting for the death penalty. That's true. We didn't get that. But at the end of the day, he's not going to be leaving out of there until he's in the box.
Kenyatta Barron is Kenyatta's sister and wonders what message a life sentence in this case sends.
You got somebody that put my sister and my niece through pure hell. Their last moments on earth was pure hell. And we was just told that not even that was worth another life. So
the jury's recommendation is just that. The judge still has to officially sentence O'Neal. That hearing is scheduled for July 23rd at 10 a.m. In Tampa, I'm Chip Osowski, 8 on your side.
That was it. That was kind of the final updates with that. Sean is saying he has a son that has Down syndrome. If you're not trolling or whatever, shout out to your son, Sean. Shout out. If not, that's a shame that you're doing that. But if so, shout out.
The rest of his life in prison for murdering his girlfriend and their disabled daughter. 8 on your side's Megan Gannon joins us live from the courthouse with the very latest. This verdict in the sentencing phase coming in late today.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Stacey. We know that the jury, it took them just a little over 3 hours of deliberation before they came to their recommendation of life in prison for Ronnie O'Neal.
One or more individual jurors find that one or more mitigating circumstances was established by the greater weight of the evidence. Yes.
At least one juror thought life in prison was appropriate for Ronnie O'Neal, but the family members of Kenyatta Barron were devastated and reacted after the sentencing.
Whether family know it or not, I got justice because at the end of the day, it's true, I go to a grave and I visit my 2 children at the grave, but at the end of the day, they resting in the bosom of God. But him, he's gonna be so miserable behind those bars till he gonna wish he was dead.
The defense taking about 30 minutes for their closing arguments, stating O'Neal has a mental illness, something they have been focused on during this penalty phase.
It distorted his thoughts and how he perceived the events that night. And you have heard that throughout this trial from witnesses and from Mr. O'Neal himself.
However, prosecutors...
That's pretty much it, man. That's it for this guy, O'Neal. Unless he tries to appeal and they actually accept it. That's it. Life without parole, I believe. It's a wrap for him. And his little bit of fame that he got. That's it. But yeah, no, I just wanted to pop in. Apparently the business connection is not that smooth. It's smooth, but not as smooth as I thought. But that's it for this guy. We're gonna be moving on. Maybe tomorrow I'll do an update with this whole Miami. I kind of want to go in person. I don't know how close they're gonna let anybody get, but I kind of want to go in person to see the building. I feel like that type of stuff you need to really see it in front of you. So. But that's it. Yeah, thank you guys for coming. Please hit the like and subscribe, turn on the bell with notifications, all that good stuff. And we'll be back tomorrow. Peace. Peace. Peace.